Do I even need to explain this to you? You all know who Mario is, right? Even if you don't play his games. Italian plumber, saving the princess, born with a plunger in his hand. Mario has had a lot of games, whether it be the big mainline titles, the dozens of spin-offs. There's always something to like about the Red Plumber.
Oh, hello! It's me, Mario!
Maybe not that. But regardless, today's topic is about Bowser's Fury, which was included in the Nintendo Switch port of Super Mario 3D World. But before I jump to Bowser's Fury, I want to at least briefly talk about 3D World, huh? While the entire game as a whole is a beast to cover, it's at least useful to briefly talk about it, right? So, let's rewind the clock a bit. The year is 2013. The Wii U wasn't exactly doing too well, which should be obvious given how Nintendo practically wants you to forget it happened, but regardless, it exists. At the time, people were definitely holding out on a new big 3D Mario game to be announced for Wii U. Hell, I remember seeing a lot of fake covers for Mario Galaxy 3 on the damn system. And who could blame the fans? Even as a kid, I was interested to see how they would make Mario Galaxy work with the gamepad, and I don't even own a Wii U. Come a few months later, and it's revealed, Super Mario 3D World, and it's... not what the fans were hoping for. I do remember seeing a few of my friends mad at the fact that this game was pretty much looking exactly like Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS, but on console, and when you put both games side by side, yeah, that checks out. Personally, I wasn't really mad about this. A bit disappointed it wasn't Galaxy 3, but it's not like I even owned a Wii U back then, so it didn't mean jack shit to me. Anyways, the game came out and it was looking a lot better than people were expecting, and it definitely was a step up from the reveal trailer. But despite people generally liking the game, it still left quite the sour taste in people's mouths, mainly because this was the game they got rather than a huge 3D Mario title. But then, 2017 came around, and the Switch happened. And with the Switch getting its own big 3D Mario game, Odyssey, it made perfect sense to port 3D World to the Switch, considering Nintendo ported most of their other Wii U games to the Switch as well. But years passed by, and I was just fully convinced Nintendo would never do it just because it's Nintendo. But then, it finally happened. For Mario's 35th anniversary, they unveiled a subpar port of 3D Mario games, and 3D World finally getting ported to the Switch. But not just that, it was getting another edition as well, Bowser's Fury, which looked like to be an all new expansion to the base game. And the game finally came out, and yeah, it was good. The excitement for 3D World wasn't as high because, well, the game is 8 years old at that point. But it was finally nice to have this game on the Switch, with all the little improvements and the online that somewhat worked. But enough about 3D World, I'll cover that as a whole another time. Let's move on to the main event, shall we? As I said before, Bowser's Fury is basically an expansion to 3D World and exclusive to the Switch port. The story is pretty simple, like the base game. Mario's just taking a walk when he notices these black spots. He quickly rushes to the source, which is the graffiti mark from Mario Sunshine. Mario then gets sucked in a hole and lands in an entirely new place. After dealing with a cool looking but pissed as hell Bowser, did he start playing CSGO? We meet with Bowser Jr. He tells Mario that his dad got super pissed and he won't even listen to him now. Obviously, there's more to the story and Mario thinks the same too, but he relents and they both set off to stop Bowser's rage. That's pretty much it in terms of the story, but how's the gameplay? If you've played any 3D Mario game before, then you definitely know how Bowser's Fury works. You basically play a bunch of levels, each with different objectives to get whatever object you need. In this case, they're cat shines. But Bowser's Fury does it a bit differently. While most 3D Mario games just had a bunch of levels spread out in a huge hub world of sorts, in Bowser's Fury, all of the levels are basically in the world you spawn in. It's like if you're playing in a world map from, say, Super Mario World. But since this game is based off 3D World, you still have the same controls and moveset from 3D World, but you're playing in full 3D rather than a fixed camera angle. The item system from the base game also carries over here, but you can store up to 5 of each power up, which is nice. All of the power-ups from the base games carry over here. The mushroom is basically the base form, it lets you tank one more hit. The fire flower lets you throw fireballs. The boomerang flower lets you throw boomerangs. The tanuki leaf lets you hover in air for a bit, useful for bigger jumps. And the cat bell, which basically lets you pounce enemies and climb off walls, is everywhere. Can you tell this game has an obsession with cats? Anyways, what's the reason for collecting all these cat shines? Well, when you reach a certain amount, you collect these giga bells. And what are these bells for? Well... So after you spend enough time roaming around the island doing whatever you want, rain will eventually fall down, and then after a bit more time, Bowser fucking snap. This will basically cause the entire world to briefly enter the apocalypse. But fret not, all you have to do is grab a cat shine to show Bowser the power of going outside. That, or you could just either die or wait it out, but cat shines are obviously the easier way out. Now, how do you get a cat shine? As I said before, you simply just beat objectives in the world. You could either just beat a level, find cat shines, or even use Bowser's Fire to get them. There's a lot of ways to get cat shines, so it's not too hard. Now, when you do reach a certain amount of shines, you unlock the Giga Bell. It can only be used when Bowser's pissed, and it basically turns the game into that one episode from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show.
Lucky for me, that mattress factory broke my fall!
In these segments, you basically just try to damage Bowser until he relents and sinks back in. After finishing these fights, the amount of shines required to unlock the Giga Bell will increase, but more parts of the map will be uncovered. Once you reach 40 shines and beat Bowser after that, he's really pissed now. Did he start playing League of Legends? Anyways, Bowser will take basically 2 shines to make him flee away, and it even turns the sky red. After you get 50 shines, the Giga Bell unlocks one last time, and you fight Bowser one last time, and the game once and for... Yeah, there's still another phase. Are you even surprised? Now, Bowser is so mad, he just straight up has no eyes. There is no joke anymore. Please don't play League of Legends, like, ever. Anyways, this time, with the power of Plessy, just hit him 3 times and he's done. Bowser Jr. gets his dad back, Bowser is still after Mario, and Mario doesn't care. It's a happy ending for all. And thus ends the game. So graphically, this game looks very similar to 3D World, and I mean it makes sense, it's using the same assets and all. As a result, you get a style that looks neat, but not amazing. It's still pretty to look at. The game even looks nicer when Bowser gets pissed, I mean, just look at this. But the game isn't optimized very well. It isn't bad, it's still very playable, but there's just a few issues here and there, the biggest one being the frame rate. Oftentimes, especially whenever Bowser is pissed, the game will just sometimes tank and either stutter or just lose frames. This only happened to me during these segments because otherwise the game maintains a steady 60 frames per second. And it's not a major issue, but it still makes me wonder why this happens considering the game is always at 720p, and given how ugly the anti-aliasing looks, you'd think it would perform better. And that's not even talking about a handheld mode, which I hear is even worse, with the frame rate chopped in half and the performance issues being even worse. But I can't vouch for that because I don't really play in handheld mode. Now, the music of this game is something else. 3D World already had a pretty banging soundtrack, going with a big band vibe of sorts. While Bowser's Fury isn't as big bang as 3D World, it's close alright. A really cool thing this game does with its music is how it changes instantly depending on what area you are in. Oh, and the music when Bowser gets pissed? In the end, Bowser's Fury is a nice add-on to an already good game. With the changes they made to 3D World, it's already a pretty good port. But with this, I'd say it's worth it if you're interested. Of course, Bowser's Fury isn't very long, and you could beat the entire base game in like about 3 hours or so. But, like all Mario's games, there's still more cat shines to collect. If you get all 100, you unlock an image. like sunshine. But yeah, if this game is a taste of what's to come for our next mainland Mario game, then consider me interested. I'd love to see another but much grander take on this formula. Well, at least I'm glad enough to deal with a pissed as hell Bowser in person. Oh shit.